Good morning. Bom dia. Ohayou gozaimasu. This is loud. How is everybody today? We need a new place. This is great. Are you guys excited? Merry Christmas. Happy Meishu's birthday. It's wonderful to be here. Hello, everybody in New Jersey and Florida who's also watching along. The service today almost didn't happen. This is actually not on the script. It's very true. Last night at around 11 p.m., we had an internet issue in the city of Culver City area here. And they're like, we're working on it. And when I called the technicians this morning at 8:30, well, support, right? Customer service, not the technicians. They're like, oh, we don't have anybody on staff 24/7. And we're like, but you said you were working on it. And then she's like, well, we have all these tickets today because the internet's down. And I said, okay, what am I going to do, right? Can only pray. Thank God, just about an hour ago, everything went back up, right? And it's working. But it reminded me also that everything is by God's grace. Everything that we're doing. The very fact that we came to church today. Many of us might think, I came because I wanted to go. I came because I needed to pray. I came because my parents made me. Whatever is the feeling. You came because God called you here to come. Called you here to pray, to worship Him. Even though you might not believe it. But I'll go back to my script now, and I'll get back to that later. For me, this Christmas, this Meishu's birthday service and celebration with Jesus Christ is truly new, since it's our first holy day. But I can share with you, it's the first time in my life that I actually was looking forward to Christmas. Right? Why is that? Growing up, of course, my family celebrates Christmas. And as a child, Christmas was always a great time. I was always looking forward to the Christmas that I knew as a child, which was I get presents at the end of the year. Santa Claus is coming. I get to choose my presents. My family was not religious. So I didn't know that Christmas was about Jesus until like later, almost my teen years, when I started going to church. So for me, Christmas was about getting presents. Later on in life, when I realized that my mom can talk to Santa, right? I started making certain requests for Christmas. This year, I would like this, I would like that. Santa gonna hear my prayers. And we knew she was talking to Santa, right? Because we had younger siblings, so it was definitely Santa that was bringing them. But I was already aware that I could choose, right? That I could be part of that. And then around the age of 10, my mom got remarried and we started going to Catholic church because my stepfather is Catholic. And at that time, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. So all these years, that day is not about Santa. It's about some guy named Jesus. I'm still going to get my presents, right? That was the thing that was in my mind, right? I was 10 years old. And even though I went through catechism, I was reconciled, confirmed, reconciled, became a member of the Catholic Church, all in a span of maybe a year. We did the whole shebang, right? We did even the baptism. I still had this distant feeling about Jesus. I'm being very honest with you guys. There's no way I can talk with you and not be honest. And right about that time, I also became a member of this church, or then in a different name. So within me was a huge conflict because when we became a member of this church, our family life changed, transformed. My mom, who had severe allergies. I mean, to just eat strawberries, to eat eggs, things that we do on a daily basis. She would swell up and couldn't breathe. So to the point that at home, food was very simple, right? We ate whatever she could eat, and she didn't like cooking very much. So I learned to eat many delicious foods after I left home. But back to the story, at that time, my mom got better. So to me, Meishu Sama was the Messiah. That's just how it was. Meishu Sama saved her. And then early in that time, I realized that the name Meishu came from Meshia Sama, which means Messiah, Lord Messiah. So for me, it was clear. Meishu Sama was the Messiah. But still, we were going to Catholic church. I was an altar server, and I was always filling in for everybody because people are always busy on Sunday and they can never go to church. So I was at church the whole time. And my mom, one day, I think I shared this story years ago, so I apologize if you guys are listening to it again. One day she decided to punish me. And she said, I'm sending you to Mass early and I'll pick you up at 11. So I had to stay for like 3 Masses, right? 8 o'clock in the morning to 11. But to me, church was always fun. Even though I had that conflict with Jesus and Meishu Sama, I'm at home. That's how I felt. So I brought Meishu Sama's books with me, Meishu Sama's teachings. And in between Mass, I would read and study Meishu Sama's teachings. So even the priest came up to me that day. He goes, Igor, I noticed you've been here since, 8 o'clock in the morning. Is everything okay? I said, my mom wanted to punish me, but, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying your sermon. He's like, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, this is the other church I go to. And the priest looked at it, he's like, oh, okay, right. And then he just let it go. So I was always open about it. But at that time, so I was already 15, 16. Yeah, it was pretty bad to get punished and grounded at the age of 15, right? But I was reading Meishu Sama's teachings a lot. Everything that I could get my hands on. Everything that was translated. Right? I even had access to teachings that many of us still today was never even printed. So even though I was no expert in the matter, I thought I know pretty well. I can handle my own. And because of that, to me it was clear. Meishu Sama is the Messiah. Jesus is the Redeemer. It's great. We have to be grateful for him, but Meishu Sama saved humanity. That's how I saw it. And in my arrogance, in my ignorance, I separated the two. And I defined, Meishu Sama is this, Jesus is that. Today, looking back, I realized it wasn't just Jesus that I was disrespectful to. It was Meishu Sama himself. For thinking, I knew who Meishu Sama was, just because I read some books. Later, when I went to seminary in Japan, I realized that Meishu Sama published 36 volumes that are published as official sacred words. And what we had translated doesn't even equal one of those volumes. And I realized that Meishu Sama has a sacred word. He says, the person who can see everything I write as one message has divine wisdom. And I realized no matter how long I read those sacred words, I'm never going to be able to get that one message because I'm not that smart. It was really humbling experience, but at the same time, it was like a bucket of cold water in my face, right? So, growing up, right, for me, since I was already in this path, and Jesus was the other guy that I couldn't explain, the other existence, Christmas became a family holiday. It became a time to meet my family. It became a time to have a nice dinner, to exchange gifts. It became a time to have a day off. Because in America, you work so much, and this is like one of the holidays, the few, that actually the country stops. So I looked forward for Christmas for a day off, for my gifts, or for giving gifts. But it got to the point that Christmas was also a burden. Oh, here comes Christmas again. We have to buy all these kids in the family gifts, and we have to prepare all these parties. I can't wait till Christmas goes away, right? The year starts. And I never got the meaning of Christmas. I never got what the real present of Christmas was. And this was still very, very recent. In my arrogance and my assumption that I knew, because I had studied some, I did the same thing that I did with Jesus, I did with Meishu-sama and Kyoshu-sama. Kyoshu-sama, for those who don't know, he's the leader, the spiritual leader. And Kyoshu means the master of the teachings. So Meishu-sama prepared this position of Kyoshu so that he can interpret, compile, and lead humanity with the teachings of the time, right? For us to understand that. So basically, Kyoshu-sama is prepared his whole life, studies like crazy, right? Receives all this, but above that, receives God's divine wisdom to be able to interpret what the teachings mean. Well, arrogant me, it's like a repeating story. So I'm trying to break that cycle, right? I thought, hey, I know more than Kyoshu-sama. Why is Kyoshu-sama saying this about Messiah? And he's saying about fear of God and saying about atonement. What's he talking about? Where is this in the teachings? Literally, I had that thought. Where is this in the teachings? Until it was like another bucket of cold water when he started citing all the teachings where he was putting that from. It's like, Meishu-sama has this hymn and this teaching and this, and it all means X. And then I realized, oh boy, I did the same thing that I did with Jesus and Meishu-sama, I ended up doing with Kyoshu-sama. And we do today still. I mean, this is something very common. When we talk about surrendering, we talk about the breath of God. We hear those words and we think, I understand what that means. I don't need to go to church anymore. That's the whole message, right? Okay, I just got to surrender. I got to breathe. Well, wake up call for everybody. It's a constant evolving growth. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Every day we're learning something newer, even though it's the same words. Because God is constantly evolving, constantly allowing us to know Him deeper and deeper and deeper. It doesn't end with those superficial words that you think you understand. But like I said, I couldn't see the real gift of Christmas. Who is Jesus and Meishu-sama to you today? Who is He? Who are they to me? Today, I can say that they are the real gift of God. And you say, oh, that's great. Yeah, because they were born on earth, right? So yeah, we're celebrating that. No. It's much deeper than that. Much, much deeper than that. You want to know God's love? Get to know Jesus and Meishu-sama. You say, oh, I don't feel God loving me. Yeah, get to know Jesus and Meishu-sama. Why is that? As Kyoshu-sama has been reminding us from Meishu-sama's sacred words and actually explaining what it all means, those many, many volumes. In the very beginning, before God even gave birth to any of us, before that, God had a thought, right? Everything starts with a thought. Then became the Word, and the Word became flesh, right? Everything. And God thought, I'm going to give birth to all these souls. I'm going to impart my life, my consciousness into each one of them. And God being God, already knowing that we're starting off, we're going to be very arrogant and conceited like I was. Already said they're going to mess up. They're going to take all this and use it as theirs. So before God even gave birth to us in his heaven, he said, I'm going to forgive them one day. I'm going to prepare a way for them to come home to me. That is the biggest gift you can ever receive in your life. A way back home. God already knew from the very beginning that we were going to take possession of everything. And we do. And he said, no, I don't take possession of God's things. Right? We all say that. Stop for a moment and answer one question to me. During the day, as you breathe in and out, do you recognize that you're only breathing because God is breathing within each one of us every second? Do you take that moment to say every second as you inhale and exhale, thank you, God, I'm breathing, I'm alive? We don't we? We don't breathe consciously. We don't recognize that there is a breath, a spiritual breath within each one of us. That's God's breath. We take possession of it. We plan our day. We plan everything we're going to do. And that is the essence of life, is your breath of life. There's a spiritual and physical breath. It's not just the breath that keeps your physical body going. It's the breath that moves you. I do it too. It's okay to admit it. God already knew we were going to do it. And then you say, well, I'm so smart. I went to school. I studied. I worked. Look at my accomplishments. Okay. Did you do it by yourself? We say a lot, right? If it's not the will of God, not a leaf falls from a tree. Not a leaf falls from a tree. Do you think your thoughts are off of that, independent from that, outside of that? That you thought and you worked and you did and you accomplished? I'm sorry, but that's our human arrogance. Because at that moment, we're not even recognizing God. We're not even recognizing, well, I'm the center of the world. Isn't that how we live? And because we're the center of the world, isn't that why we kill each other and we do everything we do to one another? Because it's my way, my thinking, I believe, and then we go off and do whatever we want? God knowing all that. Have you ever thought, okay, we think all day, right? And we have feelings all day. Have you ever thought, why do I think? Why do I feel? I mean, you can do it. You're a human being with consciousness, right? Your consciousness evolved to the point where you can think, why is it I'm having a thought? Or why is it I'm having a feeling? No, we just say, I think, I feel, I'm going to do. But do you contemplate on the very thought itself? Animals can't do it. I mean, they can feel, they can think to keep alive. But they can't have that kind of thought, right? Well, you can. God, knowing all that, prepared a way, not only for you to go back home, but for you to actually consciously think, feel, and serve him and talk to him. We say, I pray to God, he doesn't answer my prayers. I'm sorry, but God's talking to you 24/7. We're the ones not listening. Why? We use our ears as ours, our eyes as ours, our life as ours. To everything, there's spiritual and physical, right? So there's a spiritual body and a physical body, which means you have eyes, ears, nose, mouth, with a consciousness. That's what gives your consciousness awareness. If you can't interact through that, you can't be conscious, right? All that, all of creation interacts through those organs. They exist spiritually too, but they have a purpose. Your eyes exist for you to see God. Your ears for you to hear God. Your mouth for you to talk to God. You eat for you to receive God's nourishment. You breathe for his life. But we as human beings, for eons, The minute we became self-aware, we said, this is my life. I'm going to do it my way. That sin, many people don't want to talk in those terms because they say, why do you have to make me feel guilty? Not making you feel guilty, make you feel aware of the consequences of your actions. It's different because once you're aware of it, you can change. You can actually enjoy life. It's not, it's my sin and I have to keep whipping myself over and over, paying for those sins. No. You can become aware. Wow, I was this way and now I'm another. And I know why I changed. So you have to talk about it. You have to deal with it. That sin was so big by us taking possession of that God literally, because God is just, would have to destroy all creation and start all over. Because you cannot live in a world where God is not a part of. He is the life that nurtures you every second of the way. But if you constantly live in a way that God is not there, you end up walking the wrong path, doing your own thing, and eventually you die, literally. But your soul, my soul, all creation would have to be extinguished. So God, already knowing that we would do all that, with his immense love, said, you know what? I'm going to prepare a way to forgive them so I don't have to kill them. So I don't have to put an end to all of them. These are Meishu Sama's words, by the way. This is not some Catholic teaching that I did in catechism. Meishu Sama's words. Were it not for the atoning blood of Christ, he says, were it not for the existence of Christ, humanity and everything you know wouldn't exist. Meishu Sama wouldn't exist. You wouldn't exist. You wouldn't be able to contemplate, think, feel, do whatever you want during the day. Just not there. God prepared that gift for humanity. God sent Jesus. Jesus came. He revolutionized the world, right? But did we really get the message? I don't think so. Just a few days ago, I was at Sprouts, not advertising for Sprouts, but I do like the store. I was at Sprouts and we're sitting in line. You know, we're there like all the time, my wife and I. It's wonderful. And in the register, they were selling some magazines. 100 people that changed the world. Right? So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let me look at that. And in the cover, they had a picture of maybe 20 or 30 people, right, in little squares. And at the top was Jesus. And I said, wow, you know, they recognize Jesus changed the world. But then I stopped to think about it. I said, did they really? How much did Jesus change the world? Because in that magazine, Jesus was being compared to every other inventor, human, every person that changed history. Yes, influenced history in some way, right? But were it not for Jesus and his atoning blood, none of those people would exist. So in reality, that magazine should just be him on the cover. Because as much like someone says, he changed the world forever. Past, present, future. When God decided to forgive your sins, he said, oh, I'm not going to do it just once or do it, I have to do this many times. I'm going to do it once and do it right. Past, present, future of all humanity. Have you stopped to think about, okay, what are my sins in this lifetime? I mean, you can think of a few. Some of them we don't want to think about. Some of them, whatever they are, that's us, and that's already overwhelming. Have you ever stopped to conceive the fact that it's all humanity? Past, present, future? So 2,000 years later, may someone receive that. There's a point to why I'm sharing this today. It's because this is the essence of Meishu Sama's sacred word. Today we read, I don't have it here with me, but we talk about returning to heaven first to save, right? And we all know that sacred word from Meishu Sama, those who are members for a longer period of time, because over there, Meishu Sama says very clear, this is different from everybody else. right? This is different from every other church. So at long time, like I said, in my arrogance, I would take those sacred words. I know what Meishu was saying, and this is different. And I would say, well, this is different than Jesus and the way that Jesus did it. Therefore, it's better. I did that. It's okay. What does Meishu mean by returning to heaven first? Did we ever ask that question? Did anybody ever write Kirsama? I read this, but what's this heaven and what's returning to it first? And what does that mean? We never did. I mean, our church became all chaotic and problems and this and that because everybody thought they knew what they were doing. Maybe someone says you have to return to heaven first. Meishu Sama also said, I came to finish what Jesus started. That's Meishu Sama's words, not mine, not Kyoshu Sama, Meishu Sama. I came to finish what Jesus started. On top of that, he came and said, I came to make the world repent. And then we can go even a little bit further. Maybe someone said, I'm the second coming of Christ. And they're like, whoa, what does that mean, right? Wait a minute. Not making Meishu Sama Jesus or Meishu Sama better than Jesus. I'm saying we never understood what those words meant. We never understood what second coming of Christ meant. We thought, okay, Jesus is going to be here, physical body. Okay, that's one interpretation of it. But Meishu Sama received the will of Jesus 2,000 years later and said, I'm here to finish that. When Kyosho Sama announced that we were going to do this service, right, this holy day, into conjunction with Meishu Sama's birth and Jesus' birth, he said, let's not just do a service or a holiday. Let's go behind the hidden will of God that exists in the birth of Christ and Meishu Sama. What did God want when he created Christ and Meishu Sama? It's not about Jesus and Meishu Sama the man. The question in our eyes have to be turned is, what does God want from us? What did God want to show all of us? What did Jesus come to show us? He said, if you're born anew, if you become like a child, you can see my Father's kingdom. If you do the will of my Father, you're my brother and sister. If Jesus is the Son of God, a Christ, and you become his brother and sister, what are you? A Christ, a Son of God. Doesn't mean you're better than Jesus. Jesus is a very important existence. Like I said, he changed the world forever. But did we change in the process? Did we accept that? No. So maybe someone say, hey, you know what? We got to do something. Maybe someone receive that. Returning to heaven, as we saw in the sacred word today, that is the one sacred word. All of Meishu Sama's sacred words, they're amazing. But that's one of them that will change your life. Because for you to return to heaven, first you have to receive that forgiveness. If you are at odds with your father, if you're not at peace with your father, with your mother, how do you go home? You can't. Even if they say, I love you, I forgave you, come home, like God's been doing for thousands of years now, we keep ourselves from going home because we say, I don't want to receive your forgiveness. You're wrong. I was right. I want to do it my way. I don't need you. We do that with God all the time. We don't know why we think and why we feel, like I said before, right? So what do we do with those thoughts and feelings? This is a good thought. I want more of these. God, please, let me have more good thoughts. Then we have bad thoughts that come in the process. Oh, God, please take that one away. I don't need that one. We're at odds with God. He created thoughts and feelings for his purpose, but we don't even ask him, God, why does that exist? What do I need to do with this? We say, I want this one and I want that one. So how do you return to God? How do you return home if you don't receive the gift he prepared for you, the way home? God is sending you an Uber and saying, get in. I have a driver who's going to take you home. And you're saying, no, I'd rather walk. I know my path. I'm going to take a bird, a scooter, whatever it is, God, it's okay. And he's saying, just get in. It's already ready. You don't need to do anything. That's the wonder of it. Yesterday, like I said, this is the first time I'm really excited about Christmas. And I really just feeling utter joy to be able to be a part of the service. So yesterday, my wife and I are walking in the parking lot, getting things ready for the service. All the stuff going on, like I said, internet falling apart and everything going on. And a lady turns and she goes, how was it? She was staring at Makiko the whole time, right? And I didn't even notice. I was just like, carefree and walking. And Makiko's like, this lady's staring at me. So then when I reach we get close to the door and the lady's there, she goes, you too. You guys are so peaceful. Look at this chaos. And you guys are in such peace. What's going on? To be honest, I didn't notice the chaos she was talking about, but apparently everything was in chaos. And I turned to her and I said, Makiko, we missed our chance because this is a good who we are moment to give to her. And I didn't have it in my pocket. It was in the car. And I said to her, God is alive. You're in heaven. Is there anything better than that? But then I realized it's not that we're better, we're worse. We're all in heaven. But when you open your eyes to God, you're enveloped in that heaven. You can feel that heaven. You can walk through that heaven, even though the world might be apparently a chaos. Like Meishu-sama says, first you have to rise to heaven. Then you extend your hand for those who are suffering in hell. What's hell? Hell is just the ignorance of thinking you live and do on your own. Hell is thinking that God is not alive, that you're doing it. There's another one. God is alive in me, so I am God. That's hell too. Yes, God is alive in you. Don't get me wrong. But our attitude, our posture has to be of the one who is here to serve God, not to give him orders. Very different if you say, God is alive in me, and you just go and you do whatever you want during the day and use that as an excuse to impose your will on people. That's not God being alive in you. That's you not accepting God's forgiveness, because that's the very reason God sent Jesus here, because of that posture and that attitude. That God had to literally put his own son, become flesh, put him on a cross for us to wake up. That's not God being alive in you. Like I said, we take these words and we interpret them with our ego, our arrogance, like I did for many years. So today, as we celebrate this day, and it's a day of joy, it's a day of looking at God's gift. Not the fact that he just sent his son to the world. He sent you a card, invitation card, saying, come home. I love you. I forgave you. I'll forgive you no matter what you do, but repent. Don't keep doing the same thing. Come home. Accept my forgiveness. Meishu-sama received that. So I think today God is really happy. Not only because it's Jesus and Meishu-sama's birth that we're celebrating, but for the first time after Meishu-sama really received that, we as a group are waking up to the truth of, wow, there's something so much more beautiful that God prepared for us, and all we have to do is receive it. And for that, I think God is happy. It's like any parent, right? In Christmas time, more than the children, the parents are the happier ones, right? I see it every year. My mom goes through all kinds of work to get the grandchildren their gifts and do the dinners and this. Why is that? Because it's the joy of having them in their lives, of having them come home and participating in their lives. So she wants to share that and make them a little bit happy. Imagine how happy God is that all of you are here today. He called you. He made you come. And he's saying, you know what? You don't have to be special. You don't have to be like Jesus or Meishu-sama that had a divine revelation. You just have to give me your whole heart, the good part and the bad. That's what I want to receive from you today. because I have something new for you. I have a new heart for you, a new life that I want to share with you in eternity. My prosperity, my joy. To that, I'm really glad. It's no more what I want for Christmas. How can I make God even happier this Christmas? How can I give back to God even more? Because God being alive in you, God feeling that joy, you're going to feel that joy. That's a fact. Meishu someone said it himself. He said, I'm the happiest person in the world, and humanity has yet to experience this happiness. Why? Because it was God's happiness he was feeling. And that's what God wants for all of us. So when we talk about the opening prayer today, right, the construction of paradise on earth, construction of sacred grounds, the copies, as Meishu Sama puts it in the sacred word, it's us waking up to that. That heaven exists in you. That physical place exists for you to remember that. You need a physical place. You need church. You can say, oh, I can pray at home. Like many people do, like I thought during the pandemic, right? You just pray at home. We'll do it over Zoom, right? I said that to Reverend Santos at the time. He said, no, Igor, you don't get it. And I really didn't get it at the time. I had to go back a couple years to realize it's not about praying at home. It's about God calling you today to receive your heart. And when you do that in numbers, that's huge. God works amazingly as in numbers. So God is truly happy for you to be here today. And I'm truly happy for the first time that I finally understand what Christmas is about. Beyond the fact that it's about Jesus and Meishu Sama, but about this gift that God prepared in the very beginning for each one of us. And he wants to impart that. All you have to do is accept it. All you have to do is accept it. Nobody's going to check. Did you accept God's gift? There's no elves going around. How about you? It's between you and God. Right? All you have to do is open your heart to it. Say, God, I want to receive your gift. I want to be born anew as your child. And God will change your life. Guaranteed. So thank you so much. When you give your gifts this Christmas, keep that in mind. You're not only giving a gift to your children anymore or to your friends. Behind that gift, God prepared that thought and shared that thought in thought with your friends and family. Thank you very much, and may all glory, may all honor be returned to God.